Good morning and shalom from my sukkah in Jerusalem. This is where I live this week. As you can see, my bed is here, my plants are here, my fan, electricity, light. Outside, we are in the sukkah this week in honor of Succot, and in honor of those of you who've been following us, it's in honor of returning after Sukkot, after Yom Kippur, after the Day of Atonement, to living with God. God is our protector. God is just like He was when He took us out of Egypt. He was our protector. He built a Sukkot in the desert, and here we are sitting and feeling the protection of God. God is our shade. So before I begin, I'll just pray to Hashem. He should spread His sukkah of peace upon all of us, and that we should see very soon the fulfillment of Zechariah 14, where all the nations come to Jerusalem to celebrate Sukkot. And shalom to Hope Lane, our dear friend, and just so the people should see, just write whoever responds to it, just say where you're from. I actually would have wanted to start my prayer today with the blowing of the shofar. I'm afraid that some of my neighbors are still sleeping, and I don't think Hashem wants me to wake them up. But it's a wake-up call to all of us, call out to Hashem. Today, I want to deal in this lesson with the species, the 4 species mentioned in the Torah that we take on Sukkot, and what is the idea behind taking these species. So those of you who've studied with me know that the portion of the Torah that deals with the holidays is in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. The psukim, the verses that talk about Sukkot, are from verse 33. From verse 33 until verse 43. So they tell us the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah, as it says in verse 42. For a 7-day period, you should live in booths. Basukot tishvu shivat yamim. Kol ha'ezrach b'Yisrael. Every resident among the Israelites should live in booths. Why? In order that our generations should know that I had the children of Israel live in booths when I took them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So sitting in the sukkah, we learn from over there. But I want to deal today, as I said, with verse 40. Ulekachtem lachem, and you shall take for yourselves, bayom harishon, on the first day, pre-etz hadar, the fruit of a hadar tree. Here it is, our etrog, the fruit of a hadar tree. Date palm fronds, kaput tamarim. Here we are, what we call lulav. Here it is. Anaf eitz avot, branch of braided tree, hadas, also known as the myrtle. The arvei nachal, willows of the brook. So here are the 4 species which we call today the etrog, which is the etrog fruit, the palm fronds, the branch, the trunk of the stem of the palm tree, the myrtle, the hadas, and the willow. Now, what do we do with these things? It says here, you shall rejoice before the Lord your God for a 7-day period. Rejoicing before the Lord usually refers to going up to the temple and taking these things up to the temple. Unfortunately, we don't have a temple today, but we're going to praise Hashem. But I want to try to get how do these things connect to the return, as I said, to the Garden of Eden. Before that, I want to point out that the verse, if you look carefully at the verse, has you have to read the verse carefully, and it says like this. And you should take for yourself on the first day the fruit of the hadar tree, pre-etz hadar, a date palm fronds, and then it says and willows of the and branch of braided tree and willows of the brook. So it talks about the fruit as one, and the other 3 using the word ve and. So the lulav and the hadas and the arava are one group, and the etrog is another group. So we'll just remember that point. It's something that's very, very interesting in the verse that we see. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? In order to that, let's go back to the Garden of Eden. What happens in the Garden of Eden? Garden of Eden, I'm talking about the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2, Hashem plants the Garden of Eden with many, many beautiful fruits, beautiful trees. And God planted a garden in Eden, and he put Adam there. And God helped grow from the land, from the earth, every beautiful tree, beautiful to see and good to eating, the Eitz HaChaim, and the tree of life inside the garden. And the tree of life inside the garden. Now, the Eitz Hadat and the tree of knowledge of good and bad. And the tree of knowledge, good and bad. Now, I want to just try to remind us here. I want to get my English translation, better English translation of what we're reading here. Okay, so we have man is put inside the garden. I'm just going to read this sentence again. And the Lord planted a garden at Eden from the east, and he placed there the man whom he formed. And the Lord caused to sprout from the ground every tree pleasant to see and good to eat. So God plants trees and grows trees. And then when we look further in chapter 3, we find God is telling the man to do something. Excuse me. God, at the end of chapter 2, God talks to man, and he tells him what to do. He tells him to enjoy the tree. And I'm reading in Genesis 2, verse 16. And the Lord commanded man, saying, "Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it. For on the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die." So there's two commandments. Commandment one is to eat from the trees of the garden. And the second commandment is not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, I want to point out something that maybe many people don't realize. What word is not mentioned in this verse? What did God tell man to eat from? And what did he tell him not to eat from? He told him to eat from all the trees and not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But it does not say a word about the fruit of the tree. He doesn't say eat the fruits. He just eat the tree. That's very interesting. Because when Eve, Chava, is looking at the tree, and she sees, and the serpent told her to eat from the tree, and she sees, what does she see? And the woman saw the tree was good for food. It was a delight to the eyes. I'm reading in Genesis 3, verse 6. And the tree was desirable to make one wise. So she took of its fruit and she ate. And she gave also to her husband with her who ate. Now I want to point out something very interesting. In the Garden of Eden, there was no differentiation between tree and fruit. The tree itself, in itself, had the essence. What is the tree and the fruit? The tree is the means to reach the fruit. The tree itself it has power to give life. Every year and year, new fruit grow off the trees, almost like the earth. So the trees are the source of the blessing, and they give fruit. But before the sin, the tree itself, the means and the goal were together, because the whole idea was living with God in the Garden of Eden as one. And so the tree itself had the power, had the energy. But she disconnected the fruit from the tree. And what happens when you disconnect the fruit from a tree? First of all, very, very fast, it dies because it's not connected to its source. And Shalom to Chag Sameach to Gary Ezra from Palm Springs, California. And Shalom to Eliah from northwestern Lower Michigan. Anyway, so we're talking about now. I want you to listen carefully what we see here. What we see is we have in the Garden of Eden, before Eve ate from the tree, the first thing she did was disconnect the fruit from the tree. Afterwards, when she gets the punishment, God talks to her about the difficulty she's going to have when she gives birth. When she gives birth to the fruit of her womb. And this is the punishment that the woman, that Eve gets. El Haisha Amar, to the woman, he said, this is chapter 3, verse 16, I shall surely increase your sorrow and pregnancy and pain, you shall bear children. Meaning before that, bearing children was not painful. The idea of disconnecting the fruit from its source, which afterwards also the man was sent away from the Garden of Eden, also disconnected from his root, from his source. Now we'll get back to what we have over here. In the verse we read, Leviticus 23, God says, take the fruit and take 3 parts of the tree. The stem, the lulav, it's a stem of a tree. Take the branches of these trees, and we actually are creating a tree. Here it is, a tree. We're creating a new tree. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a blessing by connecting and bringing them together again. We're actually recreating the tree. We're bringing the fruit back to the tree. And this is what we're doing. As a matter of fact, what we do, we have this is called, what's called in English, it's something woven from leaves of the palm tree. It's called koshelach in Hebrew, or in the Yiddish word. And we actually use it to attach the different parts of the other species together. So we're going to have, on this side, we're going to put the myrtle, hadas. There it is. I like the word hadas. It's my wife's name. So that's one special thing about the hadas. And we're going to put the willow here. And so here we have actually a tree that we have made. And when we're going to make the blessing and we're going to shake the lulav and the etrog together, what we're going to do is we are going to praise Hashem that we want to return the fruit back to the tree. We want them to be one. We hold them together and we actually dance and sing with them together. And this is the concept of us wanting to go back to our source. And this is the wonderful thing. What happens is on Succot, the harvest holiday, sometimes we gather our harvest and we forget who is the origin of the harvest. We forget who gave us this beautiful present called the fruits that we gathered from our field. And we are today on the holiday of Succot, the time we're supposed to remember everything we received as a present from God. We're supposed to remember. This is the major danger. Sukkot is the time of happiness, the time that the holiday of harvest, the holiday when a person brings his fruits, and he's supposed to be happy with the fruits that God gave him, and he's supposed to thank God for them. And then he takes the forest species, which actually is doing the opposite, is reminding us that the fruit has a source, that the fruit comes from the tree. Now we can ask, what's wrong with disconnecting the fruit from the tree? Isn't the tree supposed to be a something that its whole essence is for the sake of man. But in order, before we talk about that, we have to remember how was the celebrating with the four species. How did it look? If we would collect these four species as we do with the harvest, actually all we would be doing, we would take only the fruit, because the fruit, that's all we want. We don't care about the tree. Maybe we would take the tree to decorate, but we wouldn't refer to anything special about the tree. What we are doing, these four species, we're trying to say that every part of the tree has a special, unique quality. The tree is expressing a explosion of the godly blessing, complete godly blessing in the entire world of the plants. And what we're actually trying to say is that when we disconnect the fruit from the tree, we are actually forgetting. We're forgetting the source. We're forgetting the source. And it's a very important issue. It's a very important issue on Succot. When we celebrate with the harvest, the danger the Torah is warning us about is that we will enjoy our fruits of our work. We feel we worked, we did it when we harvested it all. And the idea is that we will forget. We forget Hashem that gave it to us, and we will forget that it's a present from Hashem. And the whole idea of Sukkot is praising Hashem and thanking Him for these wonderful jewels that He's giving us, for the wonderful things that He's giving us. So here we are, taking the fruit, and we're celebrating to Hashem, and we're celebrating to Hashem. It's a fruit that usually people don't eat. We don't eat this fruit. The purpose it's used for is for the carrying of the fruit. Now, I'm just pointing out an interesting thing. We call the word the etrog. The word etrog in Aramaic means lust. So we take a fruit which we don't really eat, and what we do is stop concentrating only on the fruit itself. We don't want to concentrate on the fruit itself. We don't want to look at, as we do with lust. Lust is something I want to take something to use for myself, for my personal use. That's what lust is all about. And what we're saying here, we're moving aside our personal desires and reminding that everything we have here, everything is a blessing from Hashem. And this is the celebration exactly on the holiday of harvest, exactly with the four parts of the tree. We connect the tree, we reconnect the fruit to its source, and we reconnect our hearts on the days of harvest to Hashem. And we say, Hashem, we want to be connected to you. And here we are sitting here in this wonderful Sukkah in the Garden of Eden and talking Torah to people from all over the world and connecting all of us to Hashem, reminding ourselves that everything we have is a blessing from Hashem. I'm going to maybe make a short blowing of the shofar. Hope I won't wake too many people up, but we have to blow the shofar to Hashem and call out to Hashem and remember our source. This is the ram's horn shofar. We did a short blowing of the shofar. I'm inviting you all to connect to us, to join with us. Shalom Jerusalem Foundation movement. Go into shalomjerusalem.org and continue putting up Let the Shofar Blow in Zion, because that's our goal this year, to connect ourselves, to remind our hearts that we are to go back to Hashem. And the lulav, which reminds us of the spine bone. The spine bone, there are those who say that the willow reminds us of lips, the hadar, its leaves remind us of the eyes, and the lulav is the spine bone, and the etrog is the heart. So all of us, we want to go back to Hashem, remember our source of blessing. So from Jerusalem, I invite you all to connect to Hashem, to go to the, to fulfill our dream to be part of Hashem. Thank you all for joining us, Heather and Gary and Hope and all of you who are with us. And shalom, shalom from Jerusalem.